Okay, so everyone, we're going to start talking about transaction viewer, some reporting, and audit logs. And then the third session, we'll get into the inventory and back office stuff. So as we look after things, everything we've kind of gone through in the first session was things that happened today. Today I've rung in a bill, today I did a void, I did a cash out today, I've looked at, server bills today and all that stuff today. What about for yesterday? What about for last week, last month, last year? So there's a tool, and inside Manager Functions, we're going to get to a lot of the management functionality. We have Transaction Viewer. Now, we also have it on your back office softwares. You'll have the separate icons on the back office. But from the POS itself, I can access everything right from the POS station. So we're going to open up Transaction Viewer here. Transaction Viewer is a means to look at 4 different things that happen in Blue Streak. We can look at bills. We can look at time cards. We can look at tender balances, which are our cash outs. And we can look at audit logs. It's a little different than a report. Sometimes a report is just cut and dry. This is the report. This is what happened. Whereas in the Transaction Viewer, when I look at an audit log, and I'll get into that in a little more different, it can actually paint you a picture of what actually happened. So this is Transaction Viewer. Here's the 4 tabs I was talking about: bills, tender balances, time cards, and audit logs. You'll notice that there are check boxes on each one. We also have our date range field where I can go and actually select whatever date I want. So if I go back and say, let's take a look at last Friday, I may not want to look at anything except for bills. I don't want to look at this, I don't want to look at that, and I don't want to look at audit logs. So I want to save time for it to load up. All I want to see is bills, and whatever criteria it gives me, I would hit this refresh button, which will load what I'm looking for. So obviously, if I'm doing payroll and I'm editing shifts for 2 weeks and I have a 2-week date range in here, I'm going to have everything unchecked except for time cards, because I'm not going to load up every single bill for 2 weeks. I'm not going to load up all the logs for 2 weeks. It would be waiting here too long. And that's what the idea is for these checkboxes. So I'm going to have everything selected here because I'm only looking at 1 day. And I'll hit reload. And it's going to load up. And it's going to show me down here at the bottom what's actually loading. So right now it's loading my bills. Then it will get to my tenders, time cards, and logs. So depending on how busy the store is, will dictate how fast this is to load up. So there we go. It's got my 188 bills, 1 tender balance, 11 time cards, and now it's loading my logs in here. And the log file is the largest because we log everything that happens in the system. Let's start off with bills while it's still working along there. So just like my server bills screen, everything here is sortable. Every one of these buttons, I can sort by time, I can sort by amount, I can change this, I can move this around. Maybe I want my amount over at the front, and I can do whatever I need to do with it. The idea here is when I'm looking for it, by whatever means necessary, I've selected the bill, and I can actually see right on the left-hand side what is on that bill. I can see that this bill that Maureen had was an Internet 18-piece. They had a 4-piece spicy. They subbed the salad, and they had a $1 donation, and they paid with MasterCard. And if I need a copy of this bill on the POS terminal, I would hit this icon, and it would print another copy of this bill with the actual order date and the printed at date with duplicate right on the top of the receipt. So a customer can come back to me forever in the future. Nothing's ever deleted, and I can always give them a copy of their receipt. For me, I feel that asking the customer their name for the bill is not just for calling out their food. As a management tool, I actually like to train this to be opened in the back office software. And it's always open on the day and running for the 1 day. And every time that phone rings and a customer calls in and they may have a complaint or they may have an inquiry, I hit this refresh button before the customer even gets into the whole detail. And because I've got everyone's names listed here, I can actually have that bill open up on the screen as the customer's explaining to me the situation that they're having. And I find that the names here really help out that process to verify what the customer's telling me if they have a complaint. Now, I'm going to go to my next tab, Tender Balances. So this is showing me the tender balance that happened on that day. So I can see that the day cash shift ran all day. There was no night cash. It ran from 9:44 to 10:12. I can see what they actually had here. The system expected $1,026.25. They actually had $1,029.55. In the example that we just did today, I'm actually going to change this to today's date range. When we did that second cash out, and this is more for Denise that was bringing that up here, I would actually see the 2 shifts in here. So if Denise, if we look at our tender balance here, there's our first one. Oh, 1 second here. Is it today? Oh, sorry, tender balances. My apologies here. There's our first one, and there's our second one. Does everyone see that? It makes sense, okay, from what we did today when we did a correction? So we can see that we were short, and then there's the correction that was done. So even though, like I was saying, the report wouldn't show it, in here I'd see the 2 cash outs. Just go back here to the 15th. Testing. I have a message on my screen that we lost connection. Are we still on board, everybody? Testing. Is everyone still there? Testing. Is everyone still there? Okay, moving on. We're going to go into some reporting now. So within manager functions, we have manager reports and we have reporting. In the store, we have reports that can print up on your receipt printer, which is your 3-inch wide receipt printer, and you also have a full office printer that prints 8.5 by 11. The way I like to distinguish the two, small word reports prints on your small printer, big word reporting prints on your big printer. For manager reports, there is no flexibility with the reports. It's simply a very simple report that you would print or view right on the screen. Honestly, the most times that all we're doing for this report is we're simply just running the sales summary report to say, what have I sold so far for today? I would go manager reports, sales summary, hit view, and it would show me on the screen what I've sold so far for today. That's really the only thing that we're doing for a manager report. Everything else that we want to do, we're going to go into the software, we're going to run actually a proper report for it. This really doesn't tell me a whole lot, just gives me a snapshot. What have I sold so far for today? So let's go into reporting then. So I'll go into reporting, and this will open up my reporting module, which I believe actually I already have open up, but we'll let it open up again. There are a lot of reports in the system. I'm going to cover right now the sales reports. After we do the inventory section, we'll cover the inventory reports. The one report that is the end-all be-all report that every store should be running every single day is their sales summary. Most of the reports have available date range. I can run the report for a day, a month, a year, whatever I need it to do. And again, we don't delete anything from the system, so they can always go back and run it for historical usage. So here's our standard sales summary report. It's going to show me my beverage, my food, and my modifier sales. These are my gross sales, sales before taxes, before discounts. Then we're going to see our discounts. We can see that we did a 6-piece coupon and 1 staff meal. We'll scroll down, we can see surcharges. So what's a surcharge? A surcharge is something that is added to the bill that is not being charged royalties. For example, the $1 donation that's in the storage right now is a surcharge. A delivery fee is a surcharge. These are things that we need to see on our sales reports to balance, but we are not considering them sales for royalty purposes. Then we have our tax summary. Every region obviously has different taxes, and then some regions we also have our bottle levy or bottle deposit. We consider those taxes because we're able to make them flat rate taxes based on the menu item that's rung in. So a store that does have bottle levy or bottle deposit needs to be aware that they're not remitting the total amount. They have to look at each line item because inside here they'll have their bottle deposits as well, and they'll be listed here on the left-hand side. So our little summaries here is we show that this number is our net sales, which is our gross sales minus discounts plus surcharges. And this line here is our total sales including taxes, which a lot of other people use the word of total receipts. Everyone there okay? Out of that, we keep our gift card sales separate. Gift card sales have nothing to do with real sales. They do not show up in this section. Sales for gift cards is just, if we think about it, an exchange of tender. I came in, I bought a $20 gift card, I paid for it in cash, I exchanged $20 cash for a $20 gift card. It has nothing to do with anything in this top section of the report. So that is why they show up separately in gift card sales. Then we have a summary of everything that was happening in today. So I did 16 bills. My average bill was $247. That's a fantastic day at Mary Brown's. We'll go to our next page. And this is where the bulk of the information is and what we want to focus on for new franchisees. The payments report is showing everything that was paid into the system, including gift cards. Sorry, my apologies, not including gift card sales. So we have our cash section, we have our Chase non-close, we have our US currency. So this amount here should match my total sales including taxes right here, 445710, 445710. Then we have our tender balance section, and this is what we covered a little bit earlier in the first section. This is showing everything that happened throughout the day consolidated into one section. So if I have a store that does 1 cash out in a day, it's just going to show me that. If I have a store that does 15 cash outs in a day, it's still just going to look just like this and everything's lumped in together. This is where all my cash drops are shown, my paid-ins, my paid-outs, and my sales, and my expected. My expected amount is what includes my gift card sales, not up here. So if I did sell gift cards, it's going to be adding it into this section here. The most important understanding of the system is that when I do my cash out, at the time of when I cash out, is a tool for the supervisor or the manager to balance that shift right then and there. After that, it's balanced and all the money is put into one big pot into the owner's safe, and then the next day it's counted together as one lump sum. They have already balanced each individual shift. So all I need to do is make sure that that lump sum balances with my sales summary report. And all they have to do is take the cash section that was added, adding in the pay-ins and subtracting the payouts. Yes, in 99% of the time that will match the expected, but there are some times when that won't be, as if the cashier did not cash out and left their shift run into the second day. Anyone have any questions on this part here? Because I know a lot of people like to go over this a little more detail.
I just have a question, Jared, just beneath that in sales by department. I have stores that bring this up to me as well, and I'm not able to explain it to them as clearly as I would like. Like, for example, under food category, we have famous chicken at 208. Is that 208 orders? Is that 208 pieces? What does that mean?
So that's actually 208 items of Famous Chicken. So I'm going to open up a new window here, and I'm going to run this exact report, but as its own report. We kind of throw the sales by department in here just to be in this report, but I always do recommend stores run that separately. So let's run that sales by department report for the same date, and I'm not going to use any of the optional parameters that are going to pop up on the left-hand side here. So there's a lot of optional parameters. I'm not going to select anything. So when I run this, you'll see the same 208 here beside the Famous Chicken, okay? So what that means is there are 208 items inside the category of Famous Chicken. So all of these reports, you'll see this little magnifying glass pop up, which allows me to double select it. And I can see here that there was 202 9 pieces and 6 pieces ordered. That doesn't mean 6 pieces of chicken. That means 6 units of 6 pieces for a total of 208 items in the Famous Chicken category.
Now, where do they get the food cost of 32.85% based on this particular day?
Okay, so in the recipe that's built up of the 6 piece in the system, forgetting about any wastage or inventory counting or anything like that, that should have cost me $26, in this case, $26.50. There's my profit. That's my theoretical food cost of those items based on the recipe in the system.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Okay, so if I go back to the overall report now, and I take a look at here and I see, okay, this section has a food cost of 59%, this section has the 34%, and this section has 101%. Overall, the total report is breaking it down to if I ran perfectly as if I was supposed to, and my inventory was balanced 100% and I didn't have any wastage or anything, I should have ran at 34.9% based on this menu mix that I sold.
Yeah, I never understood how they got to this amount when we don't have daily inventory built into the system and we're just running it by a day without any opening inventory. Where did this number get generated from?
From the recipe. So this is all theoretical based on your menu mix that you served, and every store would be a different menu mix, right? If I had a perfect inventory today, I should have been 34.9% food cost.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
So let's go back to that sales summary report. So like we were saying, we kind of throw this in here, but there's more flexibility when you run this as a separate report. Down here we have our sales by order type. So based on the cashier selecting carry out, dine in, catering, drive through, pickup, delivery, whatever the order type was, we're going to see the percentages. And so we like to have the stores ring in the food properly. If it was a catering order, select the order type of catering. If they're doing delivery, select the order type of delivery, because when you run this report now for a year, you'll be able to see the percentage of the business on what they're doing to that order type. So if a store is supposed to be doing a lot of catering and we want stores to do 5 or 10% of their business of catering, we can actually say to the store, hey, you're only doing 1% of your business is catering. I think we need to spend some time with you doing LCM or whatever it is you need to do to build your catering division. And that's what this will help out them do. We throw the void section in here. On the next page, we'll have our refund section, and then we'll have our labor cost section. Now, because I ran this for our test day that we were just doing today, there's no labor. But if I run this for last week, because I did copy this database from Dufferin, we should see what their labor cost was last Friday. And we'll go to the last page here, and we can see that their labor cost was 27.5% based on what they sold that day. So this report is a very powerful report, and it shows everything that you need to do to operate on a daily basis. And like I said, again, we can run this for multiple date ranges. So if I click on this refresh parameter button, it's simply going to open up this report parameter page again where I can run it for whatever date range I need to. Now, let's talk about that sales by department report. Let me just open that back up here again here. So I have here, where did that go? I guess it went away. Let's reopen up that sales by department report. There are lots of different parameters that you can select on the left-hand side. The first way I showed you was not selecting any parameters, and when I want to dive into what I've sold, I can simply double-click it. So if I don't want to see everything that was sold, and all I want to deal with was what salads did I sell last Friday, so I can have an idea of what salads I'm going to sell this Friday, I'm simply going to double-click it, and I can see what salads I went through on July the 15th. And I can go back and hit preview, and I can say, well, I just want to know what meals and dinners I sold. I can double-click it, and I can see what meals and dinners I did last Friday. If I want to see the report broken down and show everything, that's when I ran the report and it asked me these parameters on the left-hand side. I would have said show menu items equal true. And then it's going to break out the entire report now. I have a 4-page report with everything. So depending on what you're looking to get out of the system, there are lots of different ways of doing the same thing to get that information for you. One of the most powerful reports that I actually like to run is the sales by customer counts. This report's going to help you judge when to schedule staff, when customers are coming into the business, when your peak times are. Can everyone hear me? I just lost audio connection again. Okay, moving on. So, sales by customer counts. Yes, one of my favorite reports. Very similar to the piece count report that we're going to show you in a little bit, where I can run this report for an entire week. And I have the optional parameter if I want to show the hourly breakdown or not. In this case, I do want to see the hourly breakdown. And what this is going to show me is for the entire week, and it's actually going to go by half hour, every customer and dollar amount that came to the store. So I can see and compare when do I actually get busy, how many customers are coming through, and what was the dollar value for each of the times for each of the days of the week. So I find that this report is one of the most valuable tools for me to judge when do we get busy or not. So again, this one is sales by customer counts. Everyone is familiar, hopefully, with the Mary Brown's Pieces Sales by Day, which is this report right here. This revised report with the new system is actually showing 5 products. It not only is going to show your chicken pieces, your fingers, your fillets, your wings, and your pop-ins. Looks very similar to the report I have in the background, which is sales by customer counts. You can run it for the week. There are 2 ways that the stores are running this report. The first way they're running it is not showing the hourly information. They just want to see the totals. And they're using it this way because they want to make their chicken order. So I actually run it for the totals I see for the whole entire week. Actually, let me run it for a week when the store I have information from. So let's go from the 11th to the 17th. So I can see for each day of the week, all those 5 products, what were the totals? From this, I can make my orders for my chicken products. But then I want to rerun this report with the hourly breakdown. Some busier stores actually want it by half hour, and you can change your interval to show this report by hour or by half hour, depending on how fine you want it. Maybe in those busy supper rush times, between the 5 and 7 o'clock, by hour is not enough. I want to see it from 5 to 5:30 and from 5:30 to 6. Well, you can just run that report again by half hour if you need to. And what it will do is we'll simply break down this report by hour, for the whole week, and this is where you're doing your projections from. So once again, this report is the Mary Brown's Pieces Sales by Day report. A couple other reports I'm going to go through here, leaving the inventory report separate.
And also, I don't know if you reviewed this or not, Jared, but even when you click over, oh, you have it here, so they could see how many Mini Marys and Mini Mary combos they sold in their boneless department as well, even if they have it all as a lump sum.
Perfect.
Without the hourly breakdown.
So what Denise is showing here is if even though I have these items listed here, and even though I have, it says total boneless cooked, or in this case, fingers or pieces, you'll see that my magnifying glass pops up again. I actually am able to double click this and see what made up that count. And it will actually show me the menu items that went into making that number of 7. It wasn't just Big Mary's, there was also Mini Mary's as well. So that's what Denise is getting back into. So when I go in here and I say, okay, what made up this number here? When I click on pieces, it will go through every single menu item those pieces are coming from in my sales. Is that where you're showing, Denise?
Yes, that's it.
Perfect. Okay, so we're going to go to employee wages now. So I obviously like to do my employee wages in Transaction Viewer, but there are a lot of people that are still the pen and paper type of people. They want to be able to run their employee shift. They want to run it for their 2-week span or whatever have you, and they want to see it right on the screen and print it off and make handwritten changes. It's going to look the exact same way as it did if I ran this in Transaction Viewer. I'm going to see, and if I sorted by Danish, I would see all their shifts they worked, every single start time and end time. Some people like to make the corrections on a piece of paper and then go back and change it in the POS and then reprint it. There's many ways of doing the same thing. The end result, though, should provide you this report where I can then go and enter into my whatever application I'm using for payroll, whether it be my own accounting system, whether I'm using ADP, and I'm entering in 36.75 hours, and then it will do all my calculations for my CPP and EI and all those other wonderful things. All of these reports I'm looking at have the same toolbar. I can scroll through different pages. I can hit this search text button. I can actually print it, and more importantly, I can export it. A lot of people like to take these reports and maybe they save it to a PDF that they want to email out to somebody, or maybe they want to put it into Excel. So all these reports can be converted to any of these file formats and used in whatever method they want to use it in. I just want to take a look at the list and see if there's any other reports I want to cover before we move on that don't have to do with inventory, because I'm going to keep the inventory report separate. We have our dollar per run reports. I'm not sure how commonly these are used still in the chain. Guys, are these still used in the chain, the dollar per run report?
Yeah, I think most people use them for to calculate how much chicken needs to be caught each morning.
Perfect. So I'll run the dollar per run, 5-bird versus 4-bird, depending on if you're a halal store or a non-halal store. And it's just going to do that simple equation that everyone uses in Mary Brown's to determine your profitability. So I'm simply going to go in and run my dollar per run report for last Friday. So I can see last Friday I did 480 pieces of chicken. That equates to 10.67 runs. That was my sales. My dollar per run was $198.39. Okay. I think that takes care of most of the reports, the most important of the reports that we're going to run. So I'm going to move into the back office software unless there's any other questions on the reporting aspect of it right now.